All right, so I was talking about it earlier, flooding and transportation disruptions over here in the UK. July 11th, we still have yellow out there as we speak for the amber alert. Newcastle. Just heavy rain, folks, but still wanted to bring it up. Also, another alert for Wednesday, June 12th, and Thursday, June 13th as well. So the next 3 days over here, our brothers overseas will be in a yellow alert, amber alert for heavy rain for the next 3 days coming up. So we will continue to monitor that situation, but thought it was worthy to mention some not just heavy rain. We always talk about Europe and other parts of the world, but little do we talk about England, London, that area, and they have seen some heavier rain than usual for them as well. Actually, a longtime commenter, his name is Tony, he's always telling us how warm and dry it is and beautiful wherever it is in the UK, and I thought it's cute. I giggle because I don't think he's convinced about any kind of climate being, affected by solar activity or not. I think he's one of those guys that might be on. I could be wrong, but yesterday in a comment, he actually reported cool and wet conditions here, and for him to admit that it was actually cool for once and not sunny and beautiful and dry, maybe he's starting to see the light a little bit when he starts to get weather that he's not used to seeing, or maybe it's just a little bit much than he's expecting or used to. Much of the east will be relatively cool as June intense heat builds into the west from weather pattern change setting up across the lower 48 this week. I mentioned this a little bit the other day, and the problem here, you see the map, and the areas that are going to get hot are parts of Northern California, the Sierras. You got to worry about the snowmelt in Colorado. What's their snowpack? They're pretty high right now.
I haven't checked in a while. It was like 140 something.
140% was the last time we checked. A little over that. I'm sure it's probably stuck around that. But you got to worry about the flooding that could happen from these snow melts, especially if we just warm up really fast. Now, cooler weather for June in Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, parts of Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, North Dakota, South Dakota, upstate New York, looking at a very spring-like to almost fall-like conditions as you get up towards Maine. So this cooling pattern across most of the middle of the United States and throughout the Midwest and the Northeast is going to hang around for a little bit. And I looked at extended temperatures, and here in upstate New York, I mean, we're lucky to get past 74 after today. Today was the warmest day that we're going to have in the next 12 days coming up. So interesting weather heading our way for June. We figured the later in June we get, the more the heat we would probably experience, but that is not the case. And of course, cool and wet in the east. There's your temperatures. These blues indicate that these are colder than average temperatures, okay? The specks of yellow out there is in the northeast. Those are freakish incidents. Also, I want to point out that the northwest is very warm than usual right now, but check this out, guys. South Carolina, North Carolina is very cool than what it should be at this point of the year. And it's the correlation, the same one I'll use all the time when I'm showing you guys the maps that talk about cooling and moisture. South Carolina, North Carolina just got over 13 inches of rain in one sitting. So naturally, you're going to see cooler temperatures. Same with Texas. You still have flooding and rain across the Midwest. Therefore, that is keeping these temperatures below average so far here in the month of June. Pattern change, also talking about excessive heat alerts in Northern California. So you're going from comfortable to, Africa hot here in no time. And Mari found this article. To all those in the floods who have served, thank you. Here at the Grand Solar Minimum channel, we do respect and honor everyone who has served for this country, veteran or current active military. But let's not forget, folks, these people out here, along with military and private citizens as well. I thought this was a great article showing how humanity still is working together. That's probably not the best picture in the world you want to see with people dragging a goat by its neck, and of course its tongue hanging out. Probably looks like it's worse than what's really happening, but I'm sure this animal's frightened. I mean, look at the pasture behind him, completely underwater. But this is a great article here. This talks about everyone who just stepped in and helped because they care about each other. This is waist deep, high water. Can you imagine coming home from work after a major storm to find your neighborhood and your house in this much water? So the people that are actually the victims in this are way more thankful than the person that wrote this article. But this person wrote the article beautifully done, because we don't talk a lot about the people out there who are giving a helping hand. A lot of times it's negative. I saw an article in Dayton, Ohio after the tornadoes hit. Some out-of-town construction companies were there to help with the cleanup. Some of these guys were doing it on their time, their tools, their equipment, their trucks. They're paying the hotel to only wake up in the next morning to find their trucks robbed. No tools, nothing. These carpenters, they carry thousands of dollars of tools on their trucks. That's their life. And there's a lot of ugly out there. But it's good to see this article here taking time to acknowledge the folks who have been helping throughout these floods and coming together as a community should. So we will leave this article here in the link so you guys can check that out as well. But, you know, Mari's right. I'm glad she put this in our show tonight. We don't pay enough respects to the folks out there who are busting their butt right now trying to help strangers, or maybe their neighbors or family members. Either way, this is a lot of work, folks. Things will recede eventually, but when is still unknown. NOAA's predicting major flooding through most of the areas that have water now through June. Rivers are cresting as we speak right now, especially the one in Mississippi. I cannot speak of the name right now. I cannot think of it off the top of my head, but I know we just had a recent crest, and folks were concerned that it was going to go even higher than that. Through today, actually, there were some other rivers along Mississippi and Arkansas that are cresting as we speak. So just horrible flooding all around, but thanks to the Tulsa World website here, they take time to thank the ones out there who don't have to do this, but are helping out of the kindness of their heart and compassion for their fellow citizens. Love this chart. You know, again, this speaks for itself, folks. When you look at this chart and you look at that arrow pointing at where we are. By the way, CO2 is at record highs, 415 parts per million. But yet we've dropped in temperature since 2016. You see that really high peak there on your far right. That was when CO2 was still at 402 parts per million. Taking a look at El Niño. Well, it's a weak one right now. And as long as the summer months continue to wage on, I'm going to root for El Nino. And you're like, why? This is going to help with hurricane season, to have an El Nino present during the peak of this as well. So this is the one time where I'm actually hoping that the forecast is right, that they were expecting El Nino to last through the summer into early fall. A weak El Nino, but nonetheless weak enough, and just enough disturbance to create enough wind shear to keep these tropical hurricanes from being disastrous this year. They're only picking 2 major landfalls this year. 4 to 6 to affect the United States, and then about 14 to 15 named storms in the 2019 season as far as tropical cyclones are concerned. Thank goodness, for the first time I think in a while, well, there's a few spots here in Colorado that's reporting some wind chill, but that's the lowest amount of wind chill I've seen all year. That snow and ice is finally retreating to the north like it should. Still quite a bit, in my opinion, especially the ice in western Greenland, off the coast, really, of Canada. But for the most part, the Arctic's still holding on to the ice gain that they had this year. Let's take a look at the Gfs models, guys. Interesting pattern of weather right now over the northeast. I can tell you right now we've heard some very heavy rainfall, but nonetheless just steady rainfall throughout the overnight hours into the early morning. That system will move along. back in the north Midwest, Iowa, Indiana, Illinois, you're going to see some shower activity build up also in the Tennessee and Kentucky Valley into Ohio. Raking up the coast by Thursday, we will see another round of heavy showers in the northeast and the back end of it, northeast Ohio. And then some heavier rain back in Texas starting to form up. Once again, moisture coming from west to east. And this will also pretty much drench the same area in the northern plains that just got rain. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, the Dakotas, Nebraska. You don't need any more rain. Kansas, the Wichita and Topeka area, more rain for you guys. Illinois and Indiana, more rain on the horizon after the weekend, as well as Father's Day weekend. Heavier rain in southeastern Iowa. And like I said, the field work for Indiana and Iowa are the worst, or Illinois, I should say. And as you guys see right there, a heavy low pressure system right over Chicago. So we're going to keep an eye on this weather event next weekend. Lots of heavy rain moving across the Great Lakes into Michigan, and then more heavy rain diving across Kansas into Oklahoma, back into parts of Missouri and Arkansas, and then just kind of staying stationary, heavy amounts of rain Monday, June 17th, stretching all the way from Texas through Maine. And that heaviest part will continue to dive towards the south. And again, almost as soon as it leaves the middle part of the country, more of the atmosphere reloads with heavier rain to the Norton, Kansas area. And I've said that name now 3 times. It's in the far northwest corner of Kansas. But we are looking at another potential of very heavy rain coming once again for the Middle Plains states, Nebraska, Kansas, back into Oklahoma City, Arkansas, into the northeast, southeast. And again, that front remains a little stationary the next several days. Good chances of soaking rain. And then once that leaves, again, the atmosphere reloads June 20th. Now the Dakotas, Kansas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, once again affected. Dives into the south, southeast, into Kentucky and Tennessee Valley, along the Ohio River, back into the northeast. And this pattern just continues to repeat itself over and over, folks, for the next 16 days. Temperatures pretty much haven't changed from the last time when we reported on what we were talking about. Let's take a look at rain accumulation from here, June 11th through the 26th. And you can see the majority of the country gets its bulk, especially here in South Carolina, towards the late week. It gets its bulk of its rainfall. Same with the Northeast. Towards the weekend, near Father's Day, we'll get our bulk of our rain. And then saturated across the Midwest, Kansas, Iowa, Illinois, the Chicago area by Sunday, predicting anywhere from 3 to 5 inches of rain locally by the time we get to Monday. And then heavier rain continues to fall through Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York. You can see the purple, folks, spreading all the way through the south as we get towards June 26th. And a part that hasn't seen a lot of rain, this flooding is moving to the east slightly now. Now we're going to focus on, and if this, and the Ohio River is affecting the Mississippi River. So we're going to see lots of rain in eastern Kentucky, lots of rain in southeastern Missouri and central Tennessee, Nashville. Oh my goodness. Nashville, Manchester, Winchester, Deckard, Murfreesboro. That's what I meant to say. You guys are going to see some serious rain for the last 2 weeks of June, it looks like. And pretty average for most of the United States. But the one thing that remains consistent here is that we've seen purple in the same spots for the last 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. Over and over and over again. And if there's a good news about this too, guys, we've showed you in the past, we're watching some possibility developments in the Gulf. And right now, I can safely say that things are not working out that way. I wonder why. Could it be because of El Niño? No, couldn't be, right? I mean, GFS tried to suggest twice now that we were going to have some kind of hurricane that was going to rip the coast, the East Coast, through Florida and up the East Coast, almost like a nor'easter. But that hasn't happened, period. So, again, the El Niño being present could have an impact on the forecasting for hurricanes right now. And if the GFS is not using those things to formulate its climate forecast, it's going to be a long year for GFS and other models out there until they start using information that uses the whole picture as far as solar involvement, like the IBM company for weather.com. All right, that's going to do it for me tonight. Mari, did you want to come over here and tell everybody hello real quick before we head out for the evening? It's been a busy day here at the Grand Solar Minimum Channel. We've had earthquakes in Cleveland, a helicopter in bad visibility, bad weather, crashed into a high-riser in Manhattan.
It's been a very busy day, Jake, news-wise. Gosh, where do I start? First, I would like to thank Ian. He did a super chat earlier, not for us, but for the kitten.
No problem. Luna loves you, Ian.
Luna, our little kitten, 8 weeks old, something like that. So thank you, Ian. We'll buy some prawn for her. All right, so let's get into this. Now, I have a correction. You asked me to clarify the snowpack in Colorado.
Okay.
And, you know, there's so many different charts I look at. I didn't know the number offhand. Av Team actually chimed in and said Colorado has over 400% snowpack. But actually, as of yesterday, an article came out where the total statewide snowpack in Colorado is 625% of normal as of this week.
And let me tell you guys, that warm weather that is coming, and you know what, I will turn on the temperatures just to show what we do have in store coming in the west. Go ahead, Mari.
And that is up 470 or 437 of the normal across the state of last week. So yeah, total statewide snowpack 625% of normal as of this week. So the article goes on. I'll just stick it in the description.
Looks like around the 13th we're going to start seeing some heat build up here in the west. Go ahead, Mari.
It says major floods in Colorado generally happen as a result of rainfall, not snowmelt, but state officials are still warning of localized isolated flooding, which was already happening in some parts of the state last week, according to the Colorado Water Conservation Board. At the moment, and then they post a map and stuff. You know, I'll look into it. Right now, you got the Rio Grande near Del Norte, flood stage 5.5 feet. Latest, it's reading at 5.49 feet. So a lot of rivers there are starting to get too close to flood stage. You got the Navajo River, San Juan River, Mancos River, La Plata. There's quite a few.
I'm showing everybody too, by the way, these are high temperatures for June 14th. Not very convincing that we're getting ready to start summer, especially if you live in New York.
I love how on the media they're like, oh, it's going to be such a comfortable June for the East.
Comfortable, like, and your crops won't grow.
Let's just put it as nice and fluffy as possible. So make it sound as nice and lovely as possible. Why don't you, media? Thank you. All right, so we got the correction done. Huge.
Cool.
Yeah.
Not cool, actually.
Well, it is.
I mean, it's cool, but it's
melting.
Not, right. Yeah. Not good.
Anyway.
Well, that's going to be another part of this country that's affected by major flood. Wow, look at this heat wave we got building up.
We have some new faces in the chat. Anna Hoskins popped in, said thank you for everything you do from Cincinnati. Hoopty put,
she probably knows Billy Cunningham then.
Hoopty put, if it helps, this channel specifically woke me up only a few months ago. Since then, I've been researching like crazy. You are reaching people for sure. Cooling the global warming theory. So that's great to hear. I don't call it global cooling theory, like, to me it's a natural cycle and it's going to be organic and varied like the universe. So
the problem with this is
slap
that
a label on it.
Well, the problem with this is that this natural phenomenon that's happening before our eyes is going to cause cooling, it's going to cause more precipitation, it's going to cause a lot of challenges in the future.
Like we're going into a phase of the cycle.
Yeah.
People need to stop labeling it and being hostile with one another because both sides, they both want to prep.
But technically, we are cooling.
They both, like, there's a lot of similarities.
Sure.
You got to stop playing the pointing fingers, blame game. It's hard to do.
Yep. And
it gets political, and you have MSN and all your governments like trying to penny pinch along the way to
They know
cause more problems.
That climate gravy train is almost gone. So that's why they're hanging on to every thread they have right now as far as a lie.
I took a lot of notes. I like a good girl in this chat, but I know I'm running low on time. One of the more daunting, let's say, probably the hardest question right now for me to explain is, how do I get to the new site? It's talking about the GSM social on the grandsolarminimum.com. I'm going to put out a little tutorial video on how people should be able to use that. There is a place where you can log in, register on the website, create your own profile, your own wall. There's groups. It's essentially the GSM version of Facebook, but you don't have, you know, that creepy guy. What's his name?
Mark Zuckerberg.
Mark Zuckerberg, like, you know, saying you can't post this and you can't post that. I posted about the dormant Russian volcano, got dinged on that. They said it was spam, even though it originated from a CNN article. And then they dinged us on one of the debunk videos with CO2. Yeah, nightmare platform. So
for those of you who are wondering how to get to this part of our website, you go to where it says GSM Social, and then if you're not logged in, you have to go to the bottom and log in or sign up, register with our website, like the Facebook. Once you're registered, you can go into your profile and edit things, give descriptions, upload photos, and then you click on the GSM community feed. This will show you where all your friends are posting. And right now, I mean, it's a start, guys. We've got over 100 members right now on this website here at the Grand Solar Minimum. So Mari just really kind of kicked up the work on this here just in the recent days. So I anticipate big things from this website. And as we grow, this community grow, we'll start to be able to share things at a better rate than what we are right now, because we've had some issues with Facebook right now. And I'm kind of surprised that that's been so far the only problems that we've had. But we want to make sure that the information does not stop here. Mari is working feverishly in the background trying to get us set up on other oh, I guess it would help if I didn't mute us here. Apologize for that.
We muted for
I have no idea. So
way to go.
That might be the cue to just go ahead and call it a night, Mari. Who knows?
Let's finish up with the GSM social part.
Okay.
I will go ahead and I'll put a video out explaining how to set up your profile, wall, add friends, all that. It's a neat platform. It would be a lot more fun for me to use if there was other people on there.
Yeah, right now it's just me and Mari and a couple people.
Jake and myself can post. There are a few people that have been popping in every once in a while, so it'd be good to see more people on there. Of course, if everyone goes there right now, it's going to crash the site. So, you know, we're
still working.
If you click on it right now, good luck. And that's all I got. I mean, I have more. I want to just say hello to everyone I didn't give a shout out to. Y'all are wonderful in the chat. And when's our next live show, James?
Our next live show will be Thursday night, this June 13th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And then we'll follow that one with a Friday night live show as well, along with our daily solar updates. And if there's any breaking news, like the earthquake we had in Cleveland, Mari will pop in and keep us all informed. But until then, guys, take care, and we will talk soon.